سلام 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 سلام.
Hey, we are glad to have you at our channel. In this video, we're going to look at some important questions and showcase you the answers for the same. What does science say about the existence of God? What do the most known scientists of all times say about the existence of God? What does the science actually have to say about the existence of God? And does science prove whether God exists or not? When will science actually prove whether God exists or not? What if God exists and what if not? Before we look at what science says about God, let's dive into what the most known scientists have got to say. What does the most known scientists of all times say about the existence of God? A little knowledge of science makes you an atheist. In-depth knowledge of science makes you believe in God. It's adopted from a popular saying of a famous German physicist and a philosopher, Heisenberg. Werner Heisenberg was a German physicist and a philosopher who discovered a way to formulate quantum mechanics in terms of matrices. He quotes that the first gulp from the glass of natural sciences will turn you into an atheist, but the bottom of the glass, God is waiting for you. Albert Einstein, a German-born theological physicist who developed the theory of relativity, one of the two pillars of modern physics, said, "Science without religion is lame. Religion without science is blind." He also said, "The more I study science, the more I believe in God." Louis Pasteur, a famous French biologist, microbiologist, and chemist, renowned for his discoveries of the principles of vaccination, microbial fermentation, and pasteurization, once said, "Little science take you away from God, but more of it takes you to Him." He continued, "The more I study science, the more I stand amazed at the work of the Creator. Into His tiniest creatures, God has placed extraordinary properties." William Daniel Phillips. William Phillips is an American physicist who received the 1997 Nobel Prize in Physics for development of methods to cool and trap atoms with laser light. He said, "I believe in God more because of science than in spite of it." Charles Head Towns, an American physicist who shared the 1964 Nobel Prize in Physics, founder of laser science, who worked on the theory and application of maser, for which he obtained the fundamental patent, and other work in quantum electronics associated with both maser and laser devices. He said, "I strongly believe in the existence of God based on the intuition, reason, logic, and also scientific knowledge." Science has many theories which speak about the existence of God and the inexistence of God. Science, however, has not found any proof or a fact that say whether a God exists or not. Nothing of certain is yet proved in the scientific realm. However, most scientists believe that science can say nothing about God, other than to show that there is no need for such a being. Scientists claim that science is quite capable of providing more explanations today, and virtually all explanations in the future. Others say that the breathtaking visions of science are just the perfect expressions of a creator, a God. We know that 13.7 billion years ago, an enormous burst of energy, whose nature and source are completely unknown to us and is not in the least understood by science, what initiated the creation of our universe. Science is an amazing, wonderful undertaking. It teaches us about life, the world, and the universe, but it has not revealed to us why the universe came into existence, nor what preceded its birth with the Big Bang.
The universe is everything, from the tiniest particles to the largest galaxies, to the very existence of space, time, and life. But how did it all begin? The origin of the universe is the origin of everything. Multiple scientific theories, plus creation myths from around the world, have tried to explain its mysterious genesis. However, the most widely accepted explanation is the Big Bang Theory. The Big Bang Theory states that the universe began as a hot and infinitely dense point. Only a few millimeters wide, it was similar to a supercharged black hole. About 13.7 billion years ago, this tiny singularity violently exploded. And it is from this explosion, this bang, that all matter, energy, space, and time were created. What happened next were two major stages of the universe's evolution. Called the radiation and matter eras, they're defined by key events that helped shape the universe. First came the radiation era, named for the dominance of radiation right after the Big Bang. This era is made of smaller stages, called epochs, that occurred within the universe's first tens of thousands of years. The earliest is the Planck epoch. No matter existed in the universe at this time, only energy and the ancestor to the four forces of nature, the superforce. At the end of this stage, however, a key event occurred in which gravity split away from the superforce. Next came the Grand Unification epoch, named for the three remaining unified forces of nature. This epoch ended when one of those forces, called strong or strong nuclear, broke away. Then, the inflationary epoch began, during which the universe rapidly expanded. Almost instantly, it grew from the size of an atom to the size of a grapefruit. The universe at this time was piping hot, and it churned with electrons, quarks, and other particles. Then came the electroweak epoch, when the last two forces, electromagnetic and weak, finally split off. During the next stage, the quark epoch, all of the universe's ingredients were present. However, the universe was still too hot and dense for subatomic particles to form. Then, in the Hadron epoch, the universe cooled down enough for quarks to bind together and form protons and neutrons. In the lepton and nuclear epochs, the radiation era's last two stages, the protons and neutrons underwent a significant change. They fused and created nuclei, and in doing so, they created the first chemical element in the universe, helium. The universe's new ability to form elements, the building blocks of matter, cued the matter era. Much as the name suggests, the matter era is defined by the presence and predominance of matter in the universe. It features three epochs that span billions of years, the vast majority of the universe's lifespan, and includes the present day. The first was the atomic epoch. In this stage, the universe's temperature cooled down enough for electrons to attach to nuclei for the first time. Called recombination, this process helped create the universe's second element, hydrogen. This hydrogen, along with helium atoms, dotted the universe with atomic clouds. Within the clouds, small pockets of gas may have had enough gravity to cause atoms to collect. These clusters of atoms, formed during the galactic epoch, became the seedlings of galaxies. Nestled inside those galaxies, stars began to form. And in doing so, they cued the latest and current stage of the universe's development, the stellar epoch. The formation of stars then caused a tremendous ripple effect and helped shape the universe as we know it. Heat within the stars caused the conversion of helium and hydrogen into almost all the remaining elements in the universe. In turn, those elements became the building blocks for planets, moons, life, everything we see today. This ecosystem of everything was only possible because of the many stages in the universe's development. While countless questions about the origins of our universe remain, it's only a matter of time for some long-sought answers to emerge.
The famous question posed by many people nowadays is that can science prove God? And what they really mean by that is, Can science discover God? For understanding this, we need to distinguish the difference between proof and discovery. To prove means to establish a fact or a truth by evidence or argument. And discovering by definition is to see, to find out, or to gain sight or knowledge of something which was previously unseen or unknown. In short, to discover means that something should be seen or witnessed by humans' naked eyes, whereas to prove something means to provide evidences, reasoning, or rational arguments in order to establish a fact, and it doesn't depend on our eyesight. However, science can always discover the signature of God in nature, which means science can always prove the existence of God through evidences. But through science, we can never discover God in this world. Now the question arises, why science can prove God but cannot discover Him? The answer for this is, Almighty Creator gives some sort of evidences or clues into His creation so that human being can accept His existence and to believe in Him. However, no human being or science can ever discover God, because this life is a test for us, and Allah created us and gave us limited abilities to be tested with. To get what I mean, suppose that you are a professional modeler who uses a strong modeling software and creates a project in which there are people with consciousness. It means that the models that you have created are having the power of intellect, and you put a test for them to find you. Now, if you think logically, they have only two options to find you or to prove your existence in order to accept you as their creator. The first option for them is to discover you or to see you. But of course you don't want that, because it is a test, and if you show yourself to them, then the test becomes meaningless. And logically they can't discover you, because you are out of this created project. So if they can't discover you, it doesn't mean that you don't exist. But the second option is that you send them signs and evidences, and you also give them the power of intellect. They can find you through those evidences and their logic. It is like you have given them some tips for this test. And if they still don't accept your existence through those evidences, then it means that they are arrogant. Now think of yourself, you, your project, the world in which you live, and the entire universe are all created by a superior being. Don't you think that you are made in a mega computer? Actually, not a computer, but in a mega creation box? So when we are inside this creation box, we can just touch, taste, see, smell, or hear anything which is physically inside this creation box. So these five senses help us to discover things which have connection with physics. But there are other things like love, like feelings, like intellect, meaning your mind. These things cannot be described physically. I mean, you cannot see, touch, smell, or taste your feelings. Or you cannot discover love or your mind through these senses. Does it mean that you don't have mind or there is no love because you cannot see, touch, or smell them? Of course they exist, but you cannot discover them physically. You can prove their existence through signs and evidences and using your logic. For instance, the sign for a sad feeling is crying. Or when you analyze the outcome of something, it is an evidence for your mind or your intellect. So don't think that God is inside this creation box and you can discover Him like any other thing. Because anything which is discoverable is not God at the first place. He's beyond this universe and even beyond your imagination. You cannot discover Him by the laws of physics, because physics discovers anything which is bounded by the laws of physics. And Allah is not bounded by the laws of nature. So anything which is limited by these laws is not God. That's why you cannot discover Him, but His existence is proven through evidences and logic.
Everything that we must verify has to be touch and feel.
Yeah.
But let me tell you something. If God could be touched and felt and seen, would that be God?
No, what you mean.
Would that be
It
God?
wouldn't really be a test of belief, would it? Because you would know.
It's
for a
not
fact
even
he's
just a
there.
belief, because God actually says there's good reasons to believe in Him. For example, look, do you believe you had a great grandma?
No.
You believe you had a...
Yeah, but I mean, there's obviously, I know that because obviously
Why?
I'm here now.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah,
but that's exactly the point. Have you ever seen your great grandma? You don't have access to her DNA.
I know
a grave?
scientifically, I would have to have one to be here.
How? Well, no. See, that's the point. Using the terminology here, scientifically, you have no clue. You have no clue. Scientifically, you're damn. Science say we can only verify the physical world and things that we can touch and feel. This is a non-verifiable thing.
Yeah.
The only way you know you got a great grandma is because you're here. You've made a logical, rational decision, not based on the physical world, based on necessity.
The complexity of this universe and the laws of nature are all evidences for existence of a wise creator who has designed them in such a precise manner. So if you don't see Him, it doesn't mean that He doesn't exist.
The universe actually may have a purpose, and some physicists are now suggesting it does have a purpose. And this has come out of some findings about the some of the fundamental numbers in atomic physics.
These are numbers like the mass, the weight of an electron, the weight of a quark, the strength of gravity, the strength of the electromagnetic field. About 20 numbers that describe those and other parameters, features of our world, but nobody knows why it is that those numbers have the particular values that they do. Now, you could easily say, yeah, who really cares? You change the mass of the electron by a little bit more, a little bit less. Does it really matter? And the answer is it does. See, it turns out that if you imagine that we had 20 dials right here, and we could fiddle with those 20 numbers at will, even a small change to the values of the known values of those numbers would cause the world as we know it to disappear.
For example, if we go back to, say, 1 second after the Big Bang, at that point, the expansion rate and the mass density have to have been adjusted to each other just right so that the universe is just at this critical point. If the universe at that point were expanding just 1 part in the 15th decimal place faster, the universe would have flown apart without galaxies ever having had a chance to form. On the other hand, if the expansion rate were just a little slower than what we think by one change of 1 in the 15th decimal place, then the universe would in fact have expanded to a maximum size and collapsed. We would never have even reached the time in the universe at which we're living.
A natural question that many people ask when confronted with this is, who designed it so that they all fit together so perfectly to give rise to our world? Is it merely an accident? Is there some force of nature that's out there that requires the universe to be as it is? Or is there some conscious being behind it all that has dialed things in a manner to allow the world as we know it to come into being?
What we can do is look for evidence that suggests that we're not here out of total random events. And to me, the arrangement, the special balancing of the fundamental constants, the fundamental forces of nature, tells me that there is a being there that has put this package together, which has constructed this universe, someone outside the universe that was thinking about us and put it together for our benefit.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is great and majestic. He preserves Himself in a majestic way that befits Him. He doesn't want to reveal Himself to the world except by His power and knowledge. And Allah created us in a way that we are not capable to see Him in this world. But this will be the greatest reward of the people in Jannah to see their Creator. we must consider that we are being tested in this world by believing in God without seeing Him.
They will not change me. They will not break me. Oh, I will be stronger. 'Cause I'm a believer. 'Cause I'm a believer. I'm a believer. I'm a believer. 'Cause I'm a believer.
Is it logical to believe that the universe was created without any external force? Well, that isn't. As the famous German theological physicist Max Planck, who discovered the energy of quanta, for which he was awarded the Nobel Prize in Physics in 1918, said, "All matter originates and exists only by a virtue of force, which brings this particle of the atom to vibration and holds this most minute solar system of the atom together. We must assume behind this force the existence of a conscious and intelligent mind. This mind is a matrix of all matter." What did science prove? Did science prove that there is no God? Well, the answer is no. Did science prove that there is a God? Well, again, not yet. And some commentators do claim that science proves that there is no God, which isn't true. No scientist has come up with any proof in regards to this. All what the scientists have is a theory, and any scientific theory can change with time and advancements in science. When will science prove whether God exists or not? So when will science prove for certainty whether God exists or not? Maybe today, or tomorrow, or a few days later. And in the time zone of science, tomorrow means 50 to 100 years later. And most of us would probably not live so long. And if we wait for science to prove it, most of us would be in our graves. Do we really want to wait for so long? Or would we rather find something which is more certain and which is better for us to lead our lives, which is more promising and gives us a moral life? What happens if you believe in God, and what if you don't? Say for consideration, a few decades later, science comes up with the fact that there is no God, no matter how illogical and irrational this sounds. For now, let's just consider it to be true. Now, even if science proves that there is no God, then cool, no issues. We still have lived our life. And now we are just inexistent. It's perfectly fine. What if science comes up with the fact that there is an Almighty holding and maintaining the universe and everything in it? If science says that there is some supernatural power, there is God. And what if God actually laid a plan and has actually sent His messengers through? If the message was clear and certain, and if God wanted us to live life in a certain way, and what if we have not lived life as per His instructions, and there exists an afterworld which we would witness? And what if that is the eternal one, unlike this one? Would we then be in a state to answer? It's better and beneficial to believe, as in both the cases you lose nothing, and it's destructive to not believe. Let's consider this scenario for better understanding. Say we are traveling together to a tourist spot for a camp. I tell you that I have heard it from my trusted messenger that there's gonna be huge rain tomorrow in the spot we're gonna reach, and that's our destination. Let's prepare ourselves and carry some necessary stuff. And you tell me that you have checked the weather reports and it is clearly a sunny day tomorrow. So you don't carry anything which you might need if it rains. But I did. Now, when we reach our destination, and if you were correct, weather was a sunny day, am I in any trouble? Of course not. I just had to travel with an extra luggage, and that's anyway bearable. But in contrast, what if my messenger had brought an accurate news and he was true? What if it actually rains? Am I safe? Yes, I am. But what about you? You were clearly unprepared for this situation. Now, you might say, it's not a big deal, I can handle it. Wish it worked in the case of the afterlife. But in the afterlife, the pain and torture is such, let alone handling it, you cannot even withstand it. If you don't agree, just try to save yourself from your death. Just try to bring in the whole world together and save yourself from death. Can you save yourself from dying after a few decades or a century from now? No, you can't. You can't help it but to leave this world unwillingly. If you cannot protect yourself from your death, please don't be in a delusion that you are capable enough to withstand the wrath of the one who designed each cell of your body and who designed the mind which helps you think. If the creator of the universe protects you, then none can destroy you, and if he wills to harm you, then none can protect you. There is no refuge from his wrath except from him and his mercy. Please don't miss out the mercy of the most merciful, because once you return to him, you will surely regret it. So, there is still time. Come back to the one who designed you and gave you this life. Come back so that you may be prepared to meet him with joy and not in terror, and so that you may be granted the actual life which is far better than this one and which is beyond our imagination. It's time to revert. Come back to our Creator. Let's not wait to grow old and die without acknowledging this quest and miss out the opportunity to find out the truth. Before we take our last breath, let's make sure that we have touched on the most central and essential questions of life. Why do I exist? Why am I here? Have I completed the purpose for what I was here? What's the purpose of life? Simple. Find God and what He wants from you. Remember, life is short and uncertain. Quran says very clearly, humans were created only to worship God and God alone without associating any partners or an image or idol to Him. And worship encompasses every aspect of human life, starting from the way we behave, interact with people, eat, clothe, and do every act of livelihood, including having faith in God, praying, and believing in His messengers and angels, and the message. Living life the way God asked us to, and the messengers and prophets lived. And after we die, we're gonna be judged by God. God's gonna decide whether we have truly lived life the way He asked us to, whether we have truly believed in Him. And based on that, and God's mercy, we may inherit Jannah, a stunning paradise, or hell. It's better and beneficial to believe, as in both the cases you lose nothing, and it's destructive to not believe. Before we leave, I have an offer for you. If you believe in God, or even if you don't, please read the Quran to understand and acknowledge, or at least to find out scientific errors and contradictions. No scientist till now has ever proven any scientific fact mentioned in this book to be false. Refer our description to get a copy of Quran and a link to the scientific facts mentioned in the Quran, which are proven by science after thousands of years since Quran was revealed. You may also refer our video on how Quran overpowers science to get more insights for the same. Quran is the only scripture to have not been altered since revealed and compiled. There are no two versions of Quran. God has a challenge for you in the Quran, if you don't believe it to be the word of God as well. Allah Almighty has a challenge for you. If you don't believe Quran to be the word of God, He asks you to produce a surah, that is a chapter, similar to it. And if you fail to do so, you would have by then probably accepted this revelation from God. And if He wills to guide you, you are at great loss. Thanks for watching our video. Please continue the playlist to gain better understanding on the subject. Please get the valuable resources in the description and to know more. You may check out our video on logically analyzing God's existence and characteristics, where you will find interesting contents on if God exists, what does He look like? Can a God be a just and all-powerful and a perfect being at the same time? What if this life has no reason and we have no purpose? Can a God be a just God if He created this life and put us in this chaos and problems? How can a God be unfair to His creation? Why do we have so many religions? Can there be more than one God? Can God have a creator? Or who created God? And more. Don't miss another video on how Quran overpowers science. To know the scientific facts mentioned in the Quran thousands of years ago and how science proved these facts to be true yesterday. And some surprising facts about Quran and more. This will shape your understanding about the origin of life and everything that exists. Do check out all of this without fail. Hope it benefits you and gets you peace. May peace be on you. Assalamu alaikum.
We make peace a symbol of ours. In the name of peace, we gather here now. Oh Lord, please make these days of ours on this earth filled with peace. Salamun, 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 salam. Salamun, 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 salam. Salam.